Hey, everybody. Welcome. I'm Dr. Andrea Christian Parks. I am a Christian life and weight loss coach and a physician. And I'm here today. We've been talking a lot about GLP-1s, and I've been talking about that because it's a very hot topic. It's very popular right now. 1 in 8 Americans have tried one of these medications, and there's a lot of wrestle around them. Like, do we take them? Don't we take them? What does this mean long term? How do we lose the weight and not necessarily need these medications for life? And then when you look at it as a Christian, what is this okay to do? Is this best? Is this not best? What does God want? And there's just a lot around it. But I wanted to get in here today because I haven't seen y'all for more than a week. And that's because last week I was on call, and I'm on call intermittently. I take 24-hour shifts at the hospital, and whatever walks in the door, I work with. But last week I did 3 of those. So I worked 72 hours at the hospital. Last week I was on 24, off 24, on 24, off 24, 3 times. And so that in and of itself is not necessarily a problem. It's intense, it's tiring. But what I want to talk about today in terms of that and GLP-1s is what happened also last week, which was the shooting at Appalachian High School in Winder. I live in Georgia. We are maybe 30 minutes from that high school. The kids in our ministry, some of them knew some of the victims, particularly like with that football coach. One of my kids had actually worked with him. He was at a different high school, but he plays football and had worked with him. And my kids knew about it. My kids go to camp with some kids that went to that high school. It felt very close to home. And I have 3 high schoolers in my own house, my own family. And so for me, last week was really, really hard. I've cried almost every day. And it's been little things. It's been really little things that help me realize how emotional this situation was for me. What do I mean? I got an email last week from the middle school, because I have a middle schooler also, that was, and I know what the school is trying to do. They're trying to reassure the parents, and the school was saying, these are all the safety measures we have in place, and this is how we keep people from outside of the school from getting in, and this is how we, these are the drills, these are the ways that we allow teachers to ask for help when they need it. These are all the safety measures we have in place. And I was reading the email, and I thought, all that is great, and that doesn't keep the kids from bringing weapons in the school. It doesn't fix what happened in this school at Appalachia that could happen in any of these schools, because that part isn't prevented. And I just, tears, just crying. And I thought, I mean, what do you do? Do we put metal detectors in all the schools? Anyway, before I get on a big old tangent, what does this have to do with GLP-1s and weight loss? So one of the things that I noticed this week about my own eating is how much sugar I wanted to eat. Now, I'm not saying you can't have sugar. I'm not saying sugar is the devil, although it is not good for us. It is very inflammatory to the body. Sugar's not great. But you can have sugar. You just have to decide how much you can tolerate. And for me, I know that when I consume a lot of sugar, I get very inflamed. I retain a lot of water. My rings get tight. I don't feel as well. And everything I wanted to eat last week, cookies. I bought this pancake cake from, it says pancake bread. Yeah, bread is cake, from Trader Joe's, and brought that home. And I was like, what am I doing? This is where the GLP-1s fail. Eating, emotional eating, has to be dealt with emotional solutions. Now, GLP-1s work great in a lot of ways. They reduce appetite, they slow digestion, they make you feel full sooner. They give you immediate feedback to stop you from overeating. It is more uncomfortable to overeat when you're taking a GLP-1. So it stops you sooner than you often would stop yourself when you're taking this medication. And that's a good thing, because then it's harder for you to overeat. When you don't overeat, you lose weight. So this is what I teach people in coaching, how to eat the right amount of food for your body and all of the coping of the emotional situations that you come up against in your life that trigger overeating. And GLP-1s don't address that. Weight loss surgery doesn't address that. And we as Christians are called to work with our emotions. We're not ever supposed to be ignoring our emotions or stuffing our emotions or just not addressing our emotions or just doing the right thing. You know, God says, honor God with your body. Paul said that. Honor God with your body, and whatever you do, however you eat or drink or anything else, do it all for the glory of God. But there is no automatic switch that happens when we decide to follow God that says, I will just do the right thing. And the work that we don't know how to do, that no one teaches us, is how to take the emotions we feel that we've learned to eat in response to. We are uncomfortable, we are stressed, we are frustrated, we are angry, we are whatever, and we eat to make that feeling go away. And it works temporarily, but it does work. That how to cope with those difficult emotions is something we just don't learn. And that's the work that I do with my clients. And that's what GLP-1s and weight loss surgery don't do. And so the problem with taking GLP-1s is that in the end, if you stop taking them and that feedback is gone, like, you can take them forever if you can afford it and your doctor will prescribe it, or you can get them. But the underlying problem of how to cope with the emotions that you feel, that part still has to be worked with. All of us have seen people who've had weight loss surgery, and we think, and they lose a bunch of weight and then they don't ever quite get down to normal, or they lose it and they gain back. And you go, how? I mean, their stomach is this big. How did this happen? Because you can cheat a gastric bypass. You can overeat. Even if you shrink it's much harder. It's harder if you shrink the stomach to overeat. It's harder if you're taking a GLP-1 to eat for emotional reasons, but it can be done. And it will stall your weight loss, stop it altogether, or you can regain weight. So the work that needs to be done underneath for the stress that we feel, the anxiety we feel, all the challenging emotions we feel, that work still has to be done, no matter whether you choose to do weight loss medication, choose to have surgery, or do anything else. That work underneath is what makes weight loss permanent. And so I just want to talk about that because, you know, I think sometimes we forget Jesus dealt with very difficult emotions too. So if you want to look at a perfect example, go to Mark 14, and Jesus is wrestling with the assignment that he had from God to go to the cross. And it wasn't easy. And he did not just go willingly with no questions, no struggle, no challenge, but he dealt with his emotions honestly, vulnerably, openly, and acknowledging where he was. And that's something we have to learn how to do so that we can move through the difficult emotions. And there's the additional skill of learning not to eat in response to those difficult emotions and those difficult situations. They're going to happen, but working through them, we'll only learn two ways of dealing with emotion. We learn to ignore it, like shove it down, try to hold it down like holding a beach ball underwater, just push it down, push it down, push it down. You know how long that works. If you ever try to do that in the ocean, eventually the ball's coming up, right? So we learn to stuff emotion, or we learn to react to emotion. That's when people have outbursts, fits of rage, all that kind of thing. That is what we learn to do with emotion, either turn it out or shove it down. Neither one actually process the emotion, actually move the emotion through the body. And so it's still in there. It still feels really uncomfortable. And eating is one way of keeping it down, just keeping a lid on it, just pushing it down. It's a distraction technique. It works, but only temporarily. And then you deal with the overweight that comes from it. So I just wanted to encourage you, no matter what you decide to do as far as medication or surgery or whatever, the emotional work still is there to be done. And it can be done successfully and for the long term to get permanent weight loss. It is work, but anything worth having is worth, or coming up on a year since my father passed. And I got all kinds of emotions about that. I'm having all these emotions about the safety of my children. It's work, but we can work it. And God is with us, and He wants to be with us in all the challenges and all the work that we're doing. So let's do it for Him. Let's do it to honor Him with our bodies. And if you want help doing this work, come see me. You can go to www.drandreachristianparks.com, grab a space on my calendar, go through the blog posts, binge watch all the stuff on YouTube. You can even download my workbook, and I have a little workbook set aside. You get it for free. Just go ahead and download that and start doing that work for yourself. It is work worth doing. I'll see y'all next week. Bye.